Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, back from my trip out into the deserts of Kyle's old stomping ground, New Mexico, and I seem to have brought back with me a pretty dry throat, so please bear with me today, everybody. But I am also here, as I always should be, with my partner in crime, Kyle Fergusson. Hello, sir.
It's good to have you back, man. Sorry you got a little Land of Enchantment sickness on you.
Is that what it's called? It's the Land of Enchantment?
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Why?
Because the mountains are pretty, right? You saw some sunsets. The elevation. People like to run there to train for lower elevations.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
There's yuccas.
I'm not sure I would call it being hard to breathe enchanting, but you know,
Cliffs Amusement Park, if it's still going.
I have no idea. I was in pretty southern New Mexico, so I have no idea where that is.
Oh yeah, I can't help you. I was Rio Rancho town outside of Albuquerque.
Ah, yeah, I was about 3 hours south of that in Las Cruces. I was closer to Texas than I was to Albuquerque. But yeah, man, a little under the weather, but I should be able to power through today just fine. If you're watching
it's a casual show, you know. We like to kick it here, talk Heroes of the Storm, and it's a middle of the road kind of seasonal week.
Today's, So I picked an interesting time to go travel because it just, you remember 2 weeks ago, got on the show, had a really bad first experience in Stormling, and I was like, that's it. It's no different than it's ever been. I ain't touching this crap for like at least 2 weeks, or at least a week. I was going to give myself a week, and then I realized I was traveling the following week. So I come home and I still have like 8 placements to do, but I got them done, sir. I got them done, and overall, my games have been fine. They've been good, man. Won some,
nice.
Lost some. I think at the moment I'm sitting on like an 80% win rate with Rexar. It's kind of silly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Anubarak. No one's following me up on the old Anub. No one's doing anything with what I'm laying out.
There is a bit of a tank drought. And Anubarak being labeled as a tank may not even affect this. It might just be the fact that you may have given yourself a tank label. People see a warrior front line and they go excellent. 4 backline, no aid for Anubarak. A healer that will never join you.
Yeah. That's more or less what's been going on. Although, since playing Rexar, I have noticed that when we do get tanks, I'm just like, could you help the backline? Is that something you could... Now I'm getting that itch again. I'm like, I kind of want to go back on Rexar or Anubarak so I can burrow charge backwards so I can keep that cooldown ready for when the BS strikes on my poor damage dealers. I'm feeling for them right now.
It's the age-old World of Warcraft problem. When you're not one class, you want to be another because that other one just isn't bringing home the bacon. It's an issue right now, and there's not a good answer to it. Everybody wants to climb as well. Most people were moved in some direction during placements, and so they're either motivated by, I'm amazing, I'm going to keep carrying, or I'm too low, I need to carry. And that dialogue of the solo players isn't matching the conversation and the body language that the team league players have. And we're in their house now. We invaded their house with our Hero League ways, and I see a lot of Hero League players tilting really hard. You know, it's hard work. You're used to working hard in Hero League. Everyone's by themselves. Everyone got to carry their weight. And when things start to go a little awry in one part of the 5-man, that solo player likes to say, I'm done. I give up.
Yeah, I can understand where it comes from for sure. I Yeah, I had my brain's in 3 billion different places. I had a really salty dude today. It was pretty interesting in a game where previously he was on the opposing team, and we just rocked him. Next game, he ends up on our team and starts just criticizing everybody. And this may be the Anubarak that caused me to have this feeling of, boy, I wish tanks would peel for our back line.
That is such a part of what's happening right now. It is Colossal Smash Varian is probably the main culprit of this and where I'm playing right now. The guy points at the back line, says I'm going to go there. If we're 3 levels up, great. Like, go get him. You're going to rock it. We'll catch up. But we're 2 levels down, and that plan stops working. But it's the correct play to make. And the adjustment is not happening to what's the rest of the game is informing them, how you would change this play style. And that's where frustration lies for me. I had a pretty good week. It was 3-2s throughout my main sessions of play. One of those 3-2s was in the wrong order, so I didn't get promo. And then the next day I did it in the right order of 3-2 and got the promo. So that was pretty silly. And I'm just like, oh, get rid of these promotion games. It's getting silly.
Oh, nice. So where are you now?
Plat 1. So I placed Plat 1, fell to Plat 2 because I was main tanking, and it was not a good thing to do. I went Mage Man. I went Kael'thas almost every single game. I'm so down on Phoenix. I feel like Phoenix just like, go do something. Like maybe you interrupt an objective for an extra few seconds, but if they take on and you go, Pyroblast, yes, no one to stop this. They take Brightwing and you go, I guess I'll Phoenix because she can protect the Pyro. You got Aegises, zoning people out of the Pyro, people who can time stop themselves Chromie style. You end up not on that Pyro. It's always a bit of a disappointment. It's such a huge shift to the way I used to play Kael'thas, but he is my carry man right now because there's so many unknowns, and I can adapt to it a little bit as the game goes on. You get, by the time you're 4, you're like, yeah, these guys are constantly bumping into each other. We're going live and bomb. Okay, they've got some grace to them. Sure, we'll do ignite later on, but right now, let's go for maybe a smarter build, maybe some auto attacks with the Sunfire.
I like it. I like it, man. That, by the way, was what set our Nubarak off, was the Living Bomb build Kael'thas. And I'm like, what? Why? Just let him do his thing, man. Let him do his thing.
You're punishing positioning that is so random right now. We are mixing leagues like crazy. People are passing bombs left and right.
Yeah, it's a clumped up meta we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
I haven't agreed with a Kael'thas ban in probably a year, Kyle. I am perfectly happy seeing that KT just get taken off the board right now.
Yeah, last episode we talked about what we're banning right now, and it's still Diablo, which is mystery of mysteries. You stop by high-end streams too, they're still banning Diablo.
I can't convince people. I've been in voice chat this week talking to people like, let them have it. I will show you my Storm League games this week, man. If Diablo was on my team, it was a loss. If Diablo was on the opposing team, it was a win. It's that binary for me. That is my anecdotal experience. He's not good. I don't get it. Just let him through. Let him have him. Just kill the Diablo. And when he has souls, he comes back. Cool, kill him again.
It's that potential, right? Like you get the kill, he comes back. Oh no. What a wasted kill. He gets a tiny lead. Now he's invincible with too many souls. He snags one guy and then snags the next and snags the next. And we spiraled out of control. We had a leak and we didn't plug it. And Diablo was able to make this. There's so much fear around the guy. And I'm responsible for keeping the bans going because I just don't want anybody to yell at me. I feel bad. And Kristen's sitting here, hanging out with me through most of my games on stream. And she is livid about these Diablos. She can't understand why I'm even messing with the guy, why he's even on the screen at all. He is not good, but we have to control him. I don't know how we get this information out. I don't know how we can have this conversation. What sort of balance changes can affect the guy to make us change the way we're playing this?
Yeah, I really... I don't get it. And I'm not trying to dump on Diablo, but the character has been nerfed multiple times. The heroes team took him down multiple pegs, and it has stuck. And the other, and just remove yourself from that is think about, like, what other warriors are you letting through? And really think about what's happening. What are those warriors doing to you is what I want you to ask if you're thinking about taking or banning a Diablo. Like, what could you do on another warrior if you're going to play him? And what are you really afraid of that Diablo's going to do to you that Garrosh isn't already doing, that Anubarak isn't already doing? Hell, Stitches. I would rather you ban Stitches than Diablo right now.
I think Malthael is the up-and-comer. His 100-0 potential with his swapped health is so insane with a sleep on the back of it. You put him to sleep, you get the whole cast time, you completely delete an Arthas, just gone from the game. The entire front line in this game where we can't get a big front line right now, even though we're still in double tank, falls apart, and you just won. And
I'm with you. And Tychus, in my games at least, in my experience, Tychus is causing really big problems for me. There's just too much burn on the targets you're not expecting to die on your team.
Interesting. Is that so? That's a enemy Tychus?
Yeah, Tychuses going up against me they're just wrecking us. Mind you, been playing a lot of Rexxar, so everything that comes out of my mouth today, listen to it through the scope of Rexxar. Imagine it's coming from an orc voice. But that, and while I'm not losing to it, it is certainly keeping me on my toes. Are freaking Leorics. People are just taking Leorics and draining the crap out of my bear, and that bear can't move fast enough to get out of it unless you want to use your W just to break the drain, and you don't want to do that. Why do you want to? You don't want your W off cooldown just to break the drain. It feels bad.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's very much a Rexxar problem, right? Because I'm not seeing that too much. I got to enjoy one beautiful. It was a Diablo Arthas frontline, and they went double tank on the enemy side, just cloggy city. And I got to do a Tychus game, and it was 10 minutes over, just incredible. I had a great time getting on the old guy. But yeah, if you're running the bear, people are going to want to eat the bear and, get stacks on it or heal off it. So it'll be messing with your gameplay for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, essentially we just talked about all the things that we understand and make sense to us, right?
Yeah.
So
Diablo's not part of that.
So I went away. I came back. Diablo still ain't bringing home the bacon, but people are still picking him and banning him for some reason. Whatever. I already knew that. Rexxar is good. Cool. I already knew that. And Uberak's still bringing it home even if he's not working for me. Cool. Everything is still where I understand it. Could you please explain to me, Kyle, what in the name of all that is fell and demon in this world is going on with Illidan? Why is he rocketing up the win rates? Why is he in my games? Why is it working?
Okay. This is a bizarre virus right now because I experienced it as well. My particular Illidans I saw, they were all part of one sort of clump of hours of games where a bad Illidan was picked early. So that teammate joins the next game, a different teammate, and says, that Illidan was awful. I'm going to show you Illidan, and first picks it then. Then another player gets in the next game, having seen that losing Illidan, and go, that's not a good Illidan. Here comes my Illidan. That doesn't explain the up win rate, but that was the experience I had. People were determined to show who was the better Illidan in my game, and it was absolutely nutty. I've struggled to come up with what it is. We've been in a bit of a Falstad bribe kind of meta, sneaking in. Double tanks are still great. I mean, if we got rid of things like Sky Temple, for instance, I think double tank would fall because we like to play the same thing regardless of map. Because we're all in a climbing mode right now. It's early in the season. We got misplaced. We got replaced. We got moved around. We all want to climb, so we just keep picking the same things. I'm doing it with Kael'thas. If I don't get Kael'thas, it's on to Nazebo, Jaina. Like, I have a plan, and so does everybody else. It takes a lot of games to grind. Thanks partially due to the placement or the promotion system. We clean that up. Maybe we all play games to play games and stop the grind a little bit. With Falstad and Brightwing being so popular, camp management is in, bribe is in. Illidan is a global hero who, without a bribe, is taking merc camps and participating. And that's the only thing I can come up with. It's a little moldy at this point. That's such a 2017 thought. But
That he is. I'm glad that you call him global too, because I was like, oh, well, I want to try to understand this. I'm looking at stats on hot slogs. It's all I have to look at the moment. And Metamorphosis has a notably higher win rate than the Hunt, even though the Hunt is way more popular.
Yeah.
But again, with that clump, like imagine what you're pulling off with the Hunt when you go into it with the clump that we're seeing in the game right now. Orphea's just stacking heroics like a mad woman.
But we're talking about clump, right? And the highest win rate talent and one of the highest pick rate talents at level 1 is Battered Assault. Increased Sweeping Strike's basic attack damage bonus duration. If Sweeping Strikes hits 2 heroes, it increases its damage bonus from 35% to 125%. That talent is amazing in low CC front lines. Are we in we're clumping? Is it low CC? Maybe.
I don't think so, because when you look at the top heroes right now, Rexxar, stuns for days. Anubarak, stuns for days. Kel'Thuzad, also, I don't know. He hasn't moved much in the last week. When the hell did Kel'Thuzad end up at the top of the win rates? But right there, you got Rexxar, Anubarak, Kel'Thuzad. I'm skipping over Samoro. Sorry, Sammys. You have less than 1,000 games logged in the last week. I'm just kind of ignoring you at the moment.
Sure, but he's like Lost Vikings. There's the particular people who play Sammy, and they're great at it.
Yes, and not too far into that, you find Rhaegar as the top support at this moment, and even Rhaegar brings a little bit of CC in the slow department. So there's certainly quite a bit of CC going around in high win rate popular heroes at this moment. And so, I look at that too, and I think, okay, maybe that's where Illidan is shining as well, because Kerrigan is also very high up. And where does Kerrigan shine? In a CC environment for sure, because she can lock on, and it's much easier for her to land her combos when the targets aren't moving. So maybe that's it. Maybe I've answered my own question, Kyle. Maybe the reason that my Anubarak isn't working, and the reason Illidan is that I'm not getting Illidan on my team when I'm playing Anubarak, because I could only imagine if these, high win rate Illidans end up on a team with an Anubarak, that they're just making glorious things happen with those stuns.
Yeah, and we're also seeing things like Tyrael and Zarya climb right now, who aren't the usual Abathur over-investment in Illidan. It's more of a side investment. It's a opportunity investment.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned Tyrael, because I had him in a game today, and I was just like, oh my God, why? Where? How did this happen? And then I go over, and I'm like, well, all right, I guess I'll go look at stats and see what's happening. He is over a 50% win rate for the first time in what seems like forever.
That one bums me out a little bit, because as the Kael'thas assassin of the week, my flavor of the week, I was reduced to lane clear man in so many games because of picks like Tyrael, because people were taking just cool things, bro, but no lane clear on it. So my sweet early pick assassin just turns into management duty. Yeah. Which is the right thing to do. I was a good person. I did my job correctly. I in one game, I even augmented my spec dramatically in order to have double flame strike, so I could clear said lanes at nauseum. But that's not. I wanted to land sweet gravity lapses and be a part of the team fights.
Yeah. Tyrael kind of makes sense. Again, with the clump that's going on, you get some synergy from Tyrael.
And Daribo in the chat makes a great point about Ana. We have so few mobility heroes that are winning in this game right now. Illidan is able to dodge tons of that. Will likely absorb some sort of splash damage in melee anyway if he is put to sleep. He just jumps on Ana misses. Without Diablo to stop Illidan. We've been saying this for a while here too. Diablo is the gatekeeper. He is what's stopping Genjis, Hanzos, Tracers, Illidans from running wild. And when Diablo goes down, those gates go open, and it's going to be madness again.
It's interesting, man. I'm enjoying this meta. Getting back and trying to wrap my brain around it this week, and I feel very privileged that there's a hero that I'm digging right now that I can one trick, so that it just I can just take everything else in. I don't need to worry about learning other heroes right now. I can just play Rexxar and take everything else in and attempt to compartmentalize it. But there's so many heroes rising and falling. It's kind of blowing my mind.
Is it a meta, or is this a relationship, an exchange with the placements and how they worked and how preseason might have messed up? It's a little dramatic to say, but swarmy, weird heroes are going to perform well when things are chaotic. When things are a little more structured, Arthas losing win rate right now. The bulwark, the phalanx of Arthas is failing right now because it's not as structured of a team fight. Yeah,
it's a little more chaotic. There's also something to be said about just passion picks. Illidan is a hero that's been a very popular passion pick for a lot of players for a long time, and maybe he has just found himself now in his meta. So there's also that to wrap your brain around.
And we can also say things like Team League was full of team players. It's team in it. We talked about that, now a year ago. Was that already a year ago when they opened up Team League for solos? Jeez. Maybe not.
Was it that far back? I can't remember. Someone will let us know.
At any rate, Team League, now Storm League, had more team players in it, more fills, more forgiving people, perhaps. And there may be Illidans who are quick match mains who are now going into Team League and first picking that Illidan because they know the team might be a little mad at them, but they can just mute, whatever, and move on with their day. And everyone will react and try to make it work around them because they are team players. There's a really interesting thing, different point here, but some good news for you. You enjoy some Zagara out there. Zagara, in her moldy old specialist way, really being the last one of pure specialistness, is really having a resurgence in my league because she is a solo pusher. People are quick matching those lanes hard, and there's not much you can do to stop it with that baneling range.
Yeah, no, it certainly seems because that's how I'm opening up these games on Rexxar. Is I'm playing him like a specialist. I'm bringing the push power and doing my best to win lanes. That's why I have such a highlight on Leoric because he slows me down so much. But
6 months. Thank you, Rockhus.
On the opening up Team League to solo queuers. Okay, cool. That seems more in line with what I thought was the case, but yes. I'm basing it off of no hard facts that I can remember. So, so that makes sense. But I still don't think I'm going to go back to her because when the fight breaks out, she's still too passive. She's still not manipulating the fight enough in the same way that I can. My entire experience with this game, Kyle, is basically finding out that other heroes can do what Zagara does and then still team fight better. That's basically it. It went from Zagara to Sonya, from Sonya now to I guess Rexxar. There's probably something in there I'm forgetting, but it's just like, I can lane like Zagara and then I can fight significantly better than Zagara. So that's what I'm going to play.
I'm not a huge fan of quests for the most part, particularly level 1, basic ability quests. I think Zagara would benefit from Mutalisk as a quest.
What, like land X amount of hunter-killer attacks on heroes? Or
on heroes, right. Because if you manage that dance with the wall, it'd be kind of nice to punish Zagara a little bit for that. At the same time, incentivize Zagara to join a team fight for that same late game power.
I like that. Yeah, because then that would be an interesting decision to make. Because you make it to the wall. Well, do I hunter killer hero who's probably going to duck behind it and I won't land that many hits, or do I blow the cooldown on just burning the wall faster, but I don't get stacks? There's something interesting there.
Yeah, she needs updating. Like, we've heard that the next balance patch, the next patch in general, is going to be one of the largest ever. I'm looking at Zagara. She needs help. If she is not modernized, and because of that, when she does get ahead, it's so oppressive without actually participating in the video game as the rest of us are playing it. When it's behind, she's a pick-off magnet, and her level 20s are just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you there, man. Right now, I'm not interested in playing heroes that can't come back.
Yeah. Level 20's got to be big, and I think that's a great place to put it. Kael'thas has amazing level 20s. I'm a really big fan of lots of options. I've been training on Thrall all week, so I have other picks to show if I end up without Artanis when I eventually get back to Bruiser and Frontline main.
Yeah. Well, overall, pretty stoked, and we can play together. I play Skull 2, by the way.
Oh, right, yeah, because I'll be in Plat, and then we'll have the Divide. It's all good.
Yeah, which, frankly, I'm very happy with. I was worried, because I really dropped in Team League there for a while, and my Hero League hadn't played in a while, and the last time I played, I also went on a losing streak there. So, I'm happy with it. I almost got Plat. I was seeing a lot of Plats. I think if I had picked up one more win, I may have done it. One more win earlier on, I guess, because placements are still a thing.
It is a weird cultural shift for us solos, the Hero League players out there. There does feel like there's a pretty big wall, and with the recent preseason, that wall is now Diamond instead of Masters for teaming up. And it stinks a little bit, you know? It's tough going solo right now. In a team game, right? Yeah, boo-hoo. You should be playing the team game with a team. Big surprise. But it's tough out there, man.
No, I hear you. I hear you. But as of right now, I'm just fine. I can play with all my heroes buddies. We good, and I'll get myself to Plat. Don't worry. We'll get there. We'll get there. But anyways, man, let's that's quite the pre-show. There's a lot to talk about. The meta's in quite the shift.
It is. It's a fascinating, chaotic place, and it's very fun. But if you're climbing, it's exactly as we both are experiencing right now. 3 2s, and that two is due to some weird human stuff. Just people giving up and having bad days.
The 2? What are you talking about?
Well, you win 3 and then you lose 2, but those 2 that you lose they live with you.
Yeah. It's like bad podcast reviews, man. I could have 8 people in the same day tell me I'm awesome. They love the shows. I could have one person just rip me apart. I'll remember that. It's gonna stick with me. But let's move into our news.
Wait, hang on. Before you move on. So does that mean that a good loss is when people are like, the show's not for me, but I respect what you're doing?
I've never had anyone tell me that.
That's true, actually. That's very anti-internet.
I just assume those are the people who are indifferent and don't write. Oh, geez. Thank you for that. Let's move into this week's news segment.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Put me to the stage.
Click the play button, and let's get started.
So with Storm League, the merge taking place, Reddit user The Real Zooplankton has created a roadmap of updates mentioned by the devs. All of the timing on this is more or less speculation based on dev comments. But this is interesting. This person kind of put everything together, and under completed, obviously we're looking at things like the Hero League Team League merger, ranked group restrictions, updated hero roles, and gold to shards, which I took advantage of just today, no, a couple days ago, to get myself a StarCraft Marine Rexar.
Nice. Good skin. Which one do you go with? The red?
No, blue. Classic Marine, man.
Blue? Ah,
yeah,
nice.
The red's just a little too, it's too red. It's very bright.
I like the firefighter theme of it.
Have you seen the color of my car?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get you.
Okay.
Spot on.
Yeah. Bright blue.
Is that why you got a blue car? Because StarCraft?
No, I've just always really liked that ungodly saturated blue color that has become rather popular on cars in the last 5 years.
Purple's my favorite color because Donatello, I think. Yeah.
I'm glad this is where we're going. I'm a green fan personally, but the U.S. didn't get a green Ford Focus, sadly. So, the UK did for the Mark II RSs. They came in a dope ass green, but no one wants to hear about that. They want to hear about the unofficial roadmap for Heroes of the Storm.
Okay. I could go on about Egon, too. I love the scientist characters in cartoons.
Yeah, Donatello's my favorite, too. First action figure I ever got. We're not pulling out of this nosedive yet.
Oh, okay, back in. So completed roadmap, bam. We got that stuff, which is great because that's a big pile off the plate. Short term is interesting. Yeah, this is what Reddit user Real Zooplankton put it under short term as things like fixing AI. We would hope. They've already been working on this. We've already had some improvements, though they're still a little funky. Speeding up ranked queues. I had really long queues this week. About 8 minutes every time I wanted the solo. When I got into a group, way faster. I made some friends today. Did not know them. We grouped up. And the queues were super quick. But when I was playing by myself, every game was about an 8-minute wait. Yeah, I'm about the same 500, 400 area in solo. That's strange.
Yeah, I don't know why, but again, it's hard for me to complain because when they flipped the lever 2 weeks ago and Stormwing went live, I just had such terrible first two games. I was just like, I'm out. I can't handle this right now. And my queues were short. That I would rather wait 8 minutes and have a game. Everything was perfect this week, but all in all, I just enjoyed my time with the game better. But yeah, I'm all for speeding up rank queues. I'm just not sure how they're going to do it at a certain point. To me, it seems just like a population issue.
From the dev comment we've seen on the subject, there was actually some algorithm at work that wants to do a little bit of testing, double checking, is my understanding of how they kind of nebulously explained it. If they remove that double check portion where it's not quite sure if it wants to give you this match yet, it could go faster. And their data shows that match would be just as accurate as the one it makes for you 100 seconds later.
Okay, cool. Do it then. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of the same players this afternoon.
Yeah, you kind of get in the tide. The river's flowing.
Yeah. Unranked first come first serve and roles update. So that's also under short term.
Roles being that you could then select your preferred role when going into unranked.
Yes. Yeah. That would be cool. I mean, it's a big negative for me for unranked. I mean, now like predetermined just feels so old and moldy.
Yeah, it's definitely what's stopping me from doing any sort of events in there. You know, our own patron bonanza, doing a little bit of unranked for fun, getting weird in there would be enjoyable, but we're still stuck in order. So I am passing on that right now. Mm-hmm. I do have some theories about this next one, the hero progression rewards. And I do feel like this one is much like the role rework is getting baked into other things. And they want to do one of their big Blizzard patches. This feels like something that could have come out a long time ago, but is being held back for the pile.
What, the progression rewards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because where is the getting rid of these placements? Where is the getting rid of these promotion games, the demotion games? They have the data. We know, we can assume. I'm going to go as far as say we can assume that placements work and look good when the sheets are up and the projectors shining on the wall in the meeting room and the people in suits are there and they're like, look at all the players that return when we do placement matches. And they go, yes, keep this going. Keep this madness.
I've never seen anyone at Blizzard wear a suit.
No, true. It helps the imagery.
Yes, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how if I buy into that at all. I don't think I do.
We know, though, from this BlizzCon that they see a marked change in the way people play ranked when they hit demotion. Particular when you get to full switches between Plat and Diamond. If you're Diamond 5 about to demote, the majority of players, or a large percent of them, will stop playing altogether so that their portrait border doesn't change. And they'll just give up for the season. So you got these waves which might be good for business, right? Like selling skins and stuff. These big whoa, oh, here come the placement players. They want to look nice. They buy stuff instead of this gradual, like long straight line kind of business that people would occur their golds and shards along the way after playing the long term. But you wouldn't have these beautiful spikes like you do with a kind of World of Warcraft expansion system.
I have never connected new season with spike in. I mean, it makes sense to a certain degree, but why would?
I mean, this is a little tinfoil hat. You know, you're riding with me on a journey here. Get on my roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm kind of standing by the side of your roller coaster, going, I don't know if I want to ride that.
Too many flips.
Too many flips. Too many flips. I'm looking at
but it's themed.
I'm watching the people come off, and they're covered in vomit. I don't know about this.
It's got a story, though. You know, there's robots in the line. You get to go through the castle.
By the way, themed roller coasters bore me to tears. It's a roller coaster. There's not going to be animatronics. There's not going to be explosions. You don't need to theme it. I don't care. That's why I like.
I mean, I love Dueling Dragons because you get to go through a castle. You know.
It's gone now, I believe.
They got rid of the castle?
Well, Harry Potter took over, and then it became a Harry Potter themed dragon coaster. I heard it was gone. I haven't actually verified it for myself. I haven't been to the Universal Parks in a little while now, but
you doubled down on the castle then, right?
I think it might be gone. Which sucks because it was my favorite roller coaster in Florida.
Oh, that's messed up.
Maybe, but Hulk's reopened and longer. I think now.
There's something wrong with Hulk though, because like they theme it that you're going through the tube and then a guy like screams in your ears and you get launched out. It's awkward. I get that he's hulking out and then you ride the roller coaster, but it's just
whatever. But you know what roller coaster I'm still not sure about is yours. Your particular analogy of the spike. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but do you really think placements are that big of a difference? Like, it's just the celebration of new season is here. Like, there's still going to have to be a break, right? Like, didn't they? I mean, the original goal was for us to have like 1 or 2 placements. Like, and this was like a year or 2 ago, wasn't it?
Right. I've got Dueling Dragons right now. I've got 2 roller coasters that I'm working at the same time. So let me back up here. One roller coaster is that placements are still in because of the spikes of players. My second roller coaster is that the change in promotions, demotions, progression rewards, and ranked rewards, progression rewards being both, hero level ups and doing rank stuff, has all been baked into one big future pile instead of us fixing things along the way, which is what long-term players want. We want promo games at 3 or 10 if you haven't played it in 5 months. Like, scale them. This is madness.
I guess I just don't know where to take this conversation because we're still going to have beginning of seasons no matter what.
Sure.
And if you could also just keep players playing, that's also good for business. Keep people in your ecosystem. So I disagree with you, sir.
But what about something like Lost Forgiveness? Where's that? Could that have been here now?
That's where I would like to go back to your other ride that you were selling.
You don't have to keep this going.
A month ago. I would like to go back to the River Rapids, Kyle, the River Rapids of they just like to bundle shit together.
Yes.
That Heroes of the Storm, even though it has a long history of making frequent updates to the game, that a lot of the most meaningful updates we wait forever for because they like to bundle them together and have a big splash and graphics and it's here, all of these words flying at the screen. I'm with you on that. I'm getting soaked on the frickin' River Rapids. We're getting off laughing at our picture, and I say yes. I think that, like, to the Heroes team, I would like to say, just put shit out when it's ready. We don't need it bundled together. We don't need a bow. We don't need a box. I don't care what wrapping paper you use. Just put it out.
Glad. It was worth the price of admission.
I went from a River Rapids ride to a gift-giving analogy in there somewhere. Just
you end up in a shop at the end of the ride. It's all good.
Yeah, fair. There we go. Yeah. Progression needs help. It always has. The rewards, the mount at the end of the season. It used to be like behind Team League and whatnot. By the way, do we even know if we're getting one for this test season of Storm League?
I don't think we do. We haven't had a blog post about this.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, did I miss it? Because I'm pretty sure there just hasn't been one. So yeah, like the progression system I think has always needed work, and that's where I think that they could incentivize players who do the placements and then leave, incentivize them to stick around a little bit more, play a few more games, just gamify it and make it just a little more fun and less stressful, because you're not. Ladder anxiety is a real thing and it's very difficult to combat, but a progression system can help alleviate it somewhat, because if you can help morph the minds of certain players that are afraid of hitting that play button in a ranked environment to now their goal is to just complete X amount of whatever arbitrary goals we're setting, and they're now setting their sights on the rewards. That's going to keep them around. That's going to keep butts in the seats. That's going to keep queue times down. And along the way, if you can keep their mind off of it, they're also learning. They're also improving. They're becoming a regular player of this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not all pie in the sky. You know, it's not all rainbows and kittens, because we saw something with a game like Apex Legends, a game that people were begging for a progression-based battle pass.
Well, their progression system is just lame. I mean, it's really at the end of the day.
That's the danger.
Yeah, we want progression, but we also want progression to be fun and interesting. Right. Like it's an obvious thing, but also difficult to execute on, and why we nerds are just never happy, right?
Good point.
Like right now, you know, we have another in-game event. I've never really been on board for a lot of these ongoing quests to be locked behind winning games, because it just adds to the ladder anxiety. And now you're adding a ladder anxiety to every mode of the game, whether it's quick match, AI, anything. Now you don't want to lose because you're not going to get progression on that quest.
Right. I do feel, you know, then we're gift Harrison in the mouth here, because it's great to have quests. I think the event is funly themed. I enjoy my Chromie skin. I've been enjoying playing her. I happen to complete quests. I do not inspect them. I do not wonder what it is I needed to do. I just play ranked games, and therefore when I win, sometimes something pops up when it's over. I got a boar this week. I did it. Whoops.
We're not hurting anybody's feelings, man. It's okay. Yes, I do want quests, but again, it makes me think of progression, because right now this is like the most overt fun progression system that we have. You know, this isn't tied to, none of these quests are reach Master League. It's all just get XP, get kills, win a game as X role. But they have to be in winning games. And I just find that strange, because I think
there's a lot of people that agree with you. And I'm saying I'm the other extreme where I don't even pay attention, and it's still, therefore it doesn't matter to me.
That's fine. I'm not worried about you, because I don't think you're going to care either way.
Exactly.
So it's just something I find interesting, and it's something that I think of when we talk about progression.
I'm walking away thinking we shouldn't have run that first pick Genji, not my quest didn't get done.
Fair. I'm the same way, but every now and then I click on that quest and I'm like, oh yeah, winning games. Why?
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So anyway, under short term, Anduin is still there. I mean, the way that leak, what seems like forever ago now, we knew that hero releases were really going to start slowing down, and they have.
We're at 3 months,
and that's okay. If we have the upheaval that I am noting in the meta and the rise and fall of heroes, that's more than enough to keep me interested.
Totally.
So I'm all for that. Under medium length, which I think Real Zooplankton put down as like possibly at the end of the 4-month preseason. Like these are things that may come in that, and I would say this might be part of that package that we're still for some reason waiting on, is things like Lost Forgiveness. You already mentioned that, Kyle. Which this is, go back a few episodes, we're still salty about this. The last comments that came out about Lost Forgiveness from the team, it seemed like they didn't know what Lost Forgiveness was anymore. So I'm still, this is the one where I'm like, it makes me angry because I think we're actually going to get it, but the conversation around it that we've heard from the devs just seems like blinders for some reason.
Your point system is madness.
Yes.
Because of the round numbers. Right now, after my tanking spree, I have a -3 on all games I win. So that means I always have to win an extra 1 game when I'm at, 15 points to go. if it was a perfect spree without ups and downs and various changes in there, that is insane.
Yeah, and plus the numbers are still tied to the hidden MMR and not the actual rank. So at the end, you're just like, but wait, this person's higher than the guy I beat last game. Why am I losing more points than I gained in the previous? It's just so obfuscated that it's a little bit maddening.
Right, on paper, and again, this is a complete tie-in to the confusion on the placements. I wouldn't care about climbing if I didn't want to get back to where I had put myself the previous season. And that's why my focus is more on climb than having good games and playing the roles that I just want to enjoy and leveling out at a sweet 50%. That's when these things become glaring. And it's savage.
Well, I think you have just found yourself the same place as I think a large majority of the players of this game find themselves, because I think most people just want to climb. But
true.
Anyway, loss forgiveness, ranked decay changes. We already kind of talked about that. Ranked rewards. I would tie that into the new progression system. Placement changes. We already talked about that today. Tassadar rework, Chen rework, white main adjustments. Yes, please. I want a Tassadar rework so bad. Kyle, GSL, the semis just wrapped up. The finals are, I think, tomorrow? This weekend? It's amazing. You need to watch it. There's High Templar all over the place.
I'm sure there are. There's nothing better than 3 sets of infestors in the back line doing their busy business while things you cannot fathom are orchestrated by the rest of the army. It's fabulous. I honestly wouldn't mind. We talked about Force Wall. Force Wall? Does it go away? Oh, does that mean we get our Overwatch hero? May is Bay. That's what they say. So that's how I remember it. Yeah, okay, May. Because I always say my, but then I got corrected, and now I was told that rhyme, so I would remember. So I'm good. Okay, we get rid of Force Wall and give it to her. Why not give Zagara too mean, a more interesting heroic, and we give Tassadar the toilet. Give him the what Maw does.
Oh, you're okay. You want the old school Archon toilet.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of Graviton Surge, I guess, but you disappear for a little bit, I guess, is the augment of Maw.
So then what do we give Zagara?
Something cool. I know it's a little, but she's the Zerg army. She's the swarm of the swarm. I would really like to see her embrace that more. And that's why I'm talking about this quest for Zagara. I want to see her become like even, Nazebo does his farming, but he's got some really cool team fight potential. Jaina's really been enhanced to team fight because of the way her ice block works. Kael'thas, team fighting all day long. Then, like I was saying, it feels sad if you're doing lane clear duty. I just want to see her updated. Like Sylvanas. Sylvanas is in a great place. I like seeing her. I like her on my team. She's this ranged assassin business. Yeah, I want her to get to 13. Then she's rocking. But that's no different than many heroes that need to, have their power based on their talents.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I want Zagara to see is because she's, this Zerg summon hero. She needs Locust. Give her a Locust ult. And at 20, augment them so they can fly and move faster or something. I'd be very into it.
Yeah. Ooh.
Spine crawlers?
Oh, that's cute too.
That'd be interesting. I don't know how you would differentiate it from like a Gazlo turret, but I'm sure they could find a way.
Larva on a fort is what I was thinking.
Wait, what? Oh, and what would it do? Spawn roaches that just join the wave push?
Yeah, it's like an active locust, not like a passive, pooping out your butt like Abathur. Like you
go over and you
inject, and you run over to a fort and you go.
Oh, I'm so into this, Kyle. I'm so
after
into
a couple seconds, a wave spawns and pushes the lane. And
Yep. Can they be Zerglings?
I don't see why not. She's got Hydras, and the Hydras are on Braxis. So are the Zerglings, but they put robot parts on them. So we're all good.
I like it. Let's do it. Make it happen. Also, hasn't been talked about officially by the devs, so
no,
who knows? But yeah, I mean, we talked about a lot of these things. And then under long term, where things like ARAM, priority queue for failed matchmaking, party finder, Solo Storm League queue, which I'm so confused by this, because wasn't the entire point of the merger to help with queue times? And if we have a solo queue, isn't it, we're basically back where we were?
Correct. This was the optional, you would like to ride at the front of the roller coaster button, that you could declare yourself, I am solo and solo only, and anyone who doesn't declare themselves that could also join your game if they're solo. It's convoluted. It is a beautiful idea for people who love the dialogue, like I do, of a solo-only match. And I will fully embrace this every time I say, I love that dialogue, but it is broken. I want to play a game that is fundamentally very different than how games are designed to be in a team-based environment.
Fair. And then player-based matchmaking, they want some type of educational tool. I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like that.
Again, another BlizzCon promise. We know a lot of time and effort has been put into this tool. They want to salvage it into something usable. Can it come in time to be an educational tool when people are still curious about the game? And I think our current state does, for those who enjoy it, and I'm one of these, and you are as well, if I may speak for you, enjoys the constant puzzle. And if the game is able to update with our thought process, how interesting would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned on the show before, back when Heroes podcasts were dropping like flies, and folks were like, "Oh my God, is Into the Nexus going?" And we're like, "No." They're like, "But you're starting Into the Apex," and we're like, "It's because we're playing it. We're not stopping playing Heroes of the Storm." The thing that will kill Heroes for me is stagnation. If the meta stagnates, if I find myself in Heart of the Swarm, Locust Swarm meta for half a year, I'm out. I'm bored. Yeah. Like, that's what kills games for me, is the puzzle is solved. Doesn't, I need the larger meta. I can work on my own micro. Yeah. They're like, well, Gary, you've never been a Masters player. It's like, yeah, fine. But I've never, as a general Blizzard gamer, as someone who plays most of Blizzard's games, figuring out a larger macro meta has always been more interesting for me than figuring out my own micro. And when that goes away is when my interest wanes. So, yeah, there's my soapbox.
It's a good one. I agree.
Thanks.
And to put my kind of thoughts, and I think why so many solo players enjoy that experience and why they want it back, is when we really have a team, and one really comes to mind. It was when Hanamura was out and I was running Taunt Variant nonstop, and it was about lock on, 4-man delete, lock on, 4-man delete. The first few minutes, if it's not going your way, you already messed up. In the solo game, there's the chance we evolve into that beautiful lock-on 4-man delete. Maybe we pull it off. What a mystery that could be. How enticing to play one more game and see if I can get these guys, all these players, to join me for my sweet idea. Oh, didn't work out. What a puzzle. Continue.
Yeah. I am with you, dude. So, anyways, before we move on and crack the seal on the strategy for this week via an email we got, let's just take a second and talk about the way the show is supported, because there's a lot of stuff happening over there. If you're unfamiliar already, we do have a Patreon over at patreon.com/ITN. If you're unfamiliar with Patreon, it's a crowdfunding platform where you basically get to opt in to subscribe to your favorite creators' creations, for lack of better words to interject there. And we recently made some updates to ours because there was a little bit of a drop-off recently. We're not exactly sure why. Maybe y'all didn't like what we said. But what happened, it made us take a look at the goals because we had 2 guest goals. The first was for Jeff Kanata. The second was way back in the day for Dunk Train. And we were at both of them for a very long time, and allowed us to pay our guests for their time to come on the show. And just recently, we dipped just below the Jeff Kanata goal, and so we decided to take a look at the Patreon. And so we've updated it. We have some new goals. So the Jeff Kanata goal is now just a paid guest goal. which has already sort of been happening. There were months where Jeff was just too busy. He's a busy internet guy. He's hosting a lot of events, doing his own shows. He can't always make it. And that was when we would bring on people like Dreadnought or people like Not Paradox. So we already had some flex in that goal, so we figured we should just rename it to reflect the fact that we do flex on who we're paying to come on the show when we can. And we're already very close to being back at that goal. So if you like it when we have guests on, we really like being able to pay them. That's something that we wanted to do for a very long time. We had a lot of guests back in the StarCast days, and we always thought it'd be really rad if we could pay them for their time. And you allowed us to do that by supporting us. So thank you very much, everybody. That being said, the second guest role didn't motivate anybody anymore.
Sure.
So we were looking at it, and we hear time and time again, there seems to be just so much crossover with the listeners of Into the Nexus and anything else that you and I do, Kyle, that we were like, well, what is the most requested thing? What is the thing that we hear the most often from everybody that they want us to do? And it's our general show. Everybody misses Weak Sauce.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy the Into the Nexus, the Heroes of the Storm talk here, what we basically do is a general gaming show about what we're up to, what we're watching, not just gaming, tabletop as well. And that show was called Weak Sauce, but that time was sacrificed to the greater gods of freelance and other projects. And we have decided to use this platform to finance that if possible, if you guys want it. We hope you do. I'm really excited about the guest spots here because we now are opening ourselves up to more freedom. We were already doing it, as you mentioned. And we love having Jeff Kanata on for these really heavy topics. He is fantastic when we have Blizzard news and we need to dissect the ins and outs of the business. But we also want to have Not Paradox on more often when we're talking about metas. We want to be able to have casters on. Maybe the old casters, but a lot of people are still working in this game and they are professionals, and we want to support them with full serious faces when they come on the show, even though we might be clowns once they get here.
Yes. We right before the show, we were calling ourselves your friendly neighborhood Into the Nexus, and I think that's a good good moniker for the show. So yeah, thanks. A lot of patrons already, because they already got the message when we updated. We made a post kind of detailing everything that went down. A lot of you have already upped your pledges. So Freakily, Harry, Chris, Dave, John, Luke, and Nick. If I missed anyone, patrons sometimes not the best about alerting me to when people up their pledges, but thank you so much. But our hope is to get some new patrons. So if you've been listening for a while, maybe you're newer to the show, patreon.com/ITN is the best way to support the show. So head on over there, consider chipping in. And if you'd like to see things like Weak Sauce come back, we can get there. So also some of our newer patrons, thank you to Joshua B, Jordan with a G, last initial S, and Mark F. I appreciate it, everybody.
Yeah, really awesome to see so many people responding to this, not only just for Weak Sauce, but for the health of the show. I love making this show. We love producing this show. The background research that goes into it grows whenever that support grows as well. So you love big, hearty, informed, busy shows. You love episodes that are full of gameplay like this one. That's where the support for that time comes from, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate the support, everybody. Now, let's go ahead and kick off our strategy talk for today.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
And this is your brain on fell magic.
By the way, if you want to write in, because we are taking this from an email, you can do so at itncast@gmail.com. Hotleg had a question that spurred a strategy discussion this week. Hotleg says, I've been playing since 2016, started at Silver 5 and climbed up to Diamond 4, playing almost exclusively tank. I'd like to share Yeah, congrats. I'd like to share some of my personal shot calling tricks and hear some of your own success strategies to help people get past these hells of silver and gold. That's a little strong. Oftentimes, the trickle feed that seems to happen late game is due to a communication breakdown. Please don't wait for the team. They panic and blow their cooldowns before the tank is in position. They fight over camps, etc. If people aren't on comms and not reading pings or chat, what do? I would say don't tell people what to do, but give them the information they need. Hey Vala, the Alarak is being really aggressive. You can probably secure the kill if you time your vault right after his combo, or I'm going to save Power Slide until Diablo dives. Don't use Ancestral on me because I have Death Metal. Sometimes I even slowly B-step into the bush I'm going to anchor just to remind everyone to get behind me and watch for the burrow target. That feels like a stretch right there, Hot Leg. I'm not sure.
Dude,
I would.
No way. No, I'm 100% behind Hot Leg
Really?
here because he's ETC.
I would just think he was just BMing or showing off.
No, ETC is a whole different caliber. Like, yes, you want to follow Arthas, and you're like, okay, let's all get in our covered wagons and head out west with slow moving Arthas Town. But ETC deals 0 damage, but has amazing must follow up CC. And anytime any ETC's in a bush, I'm like, what are you up to, man? You want to go to the park, boy? Like, what's up? Just I'm there. Everyone else is a cat. Anubarak, he's a cat. You can't trust him. You can't play with him. He's gonna fart off when the kibble's ready. But ETC is that hound. He may not be, he may not be able to do the most tricks, but he's smart and he's there, and he'll find a trail through that forest.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, you said they'll beast up in the bush. He says I do ridiculous movement / dance spams to throw my team back on balance, and look at me. Sometimes it works and keeps people from rushing into a bad situation, but Hot Leg wants to know, what else can we do to keep people focused on the late game fights? And Kyle, I know you had watched Not Paradox's new video, Psychology of Heroes, and I wanted to kind of use Hot Leg's question here as an excuse to promote another one of Paradox's videos from a few weeks ago that was called 3 Tips Before Jumping into Stormleague, because it shares some thoughts here with what Hot Leg is saying, because one of the tips that Paradox details in that video is to have a plan. And yes, it does involve communication in chat, but there's only so many tools, right? Like at some point we got to type or talk, right? And in the example, Paradox asks Vala that's on his team to get the siege marks at 1 minute on Dragonshire. The Vala in that example does end up getting a little cheeky in her reply, but does act on Paradox's plan at 1 minute. And this allows the team to then rotate onto the bruisers, distract the opposing team because they now have lane presence, and they get the first Dragon Knight in like 2 minutes. Or I think it's 2.5 minutes into this Dragonshire game. Just executed beautifully. But what I wanted to kind of talk about there is that what if it hadn't worked? Even if the Vala were not to listen in that situation, you're still putting the plan out there for the team as a whole. Maybe one other person on the team took note of what you were saying and was like, oh, okay, we want to use the mercs in the strategy. And that's still good, because even if just one other person can help you as you try to adjust to the fact that maybe the Vala didn't listen, that's going to make it a lot easier to still formulate a plan and pivot.
Yeah, I do a form of this, but it's very in the draft. I will admit that as I climb, I become more lazy. I get to a point around that Diamond 2, Diamond 1 where I'm like, 50-50 sounds real good. Let's have some fun. And I stop this heavy level of communication. But what I really like about Hot Leg's example here is how positive he's switching things to be, and making sure that, we have great merc potential. What I'm also saying is our front line sucks. We got Artanis and Anubarak. It's a little loose up there. There's not a lot of huge CC, but you know what? I believe we can really take a Giants camp without much trouble, and either one of these guys can be excused to do it. And just by getting that dialogue out early, hopefully that Artanis goes, yeah, you know what? I think I will take that camp. And it's tough to do. It's a timed religion. I mean, Cursed Hollow is such a great example of it. That's a long way for someone to walk all the way up there just to relieve Artanis of duty so he can go take a camp.
Yeah. It's I like that thought. It's just these kind of pre-game plans.
Yeah.
And just pointing that stuff out, because you're right. Like if you kind of get into a groove and you're now thinking about it, it might help even Kyle, someone like Kyle might just kind of be on autopilot, and you're like, oh, that's right, I should really wait until this one ability gets used before I dive into this fight.
And it reminds the rest of the team, and now I know you're on board for the thing I wanted to do in the first place, but didn't want to upset anybody because I'm having a lazy day, right? There's so much human variance in these games. And sometimes I'll just go cover that top lane, left side, Cursed Hollow. And I know the camp's there. I should go get it, but I got to get Alarak up here to take the lane. I don't really want to bother him. He seemed a little aggressive early on. Just starting that dialogue as the main tank is such a big deal because you are already sacrificing, I'd say, your gameplay experience a little bit for a more team-based experience. I am more likely to follow you in that way. Now, Genji says, we need to do camps. I'm like, shut up, Genji. What do you know? Of course, I'd love to do camps. Come cover my lane. I don't want to. I'm hunting. Okay, well, thanks, man. Like, it's easy to just ignore that and not engage. And he's absolutely right here. That's what we were talking about with Diablo earlier. The trickle is so huge right now as a way to lose games. It is too much to say that every fight is going to 20, every map is going to 20, but it's a pretty reliable thing. And based on where your power spike is, or if you even have a decent level 20 power spike, that can be a really big game change. Sometimes you win that final fight, they've got all the buildings left, and it was just a complete wipe. They're dead for 65 seconds. You march all the way core. They barely res. You take out the core, you win the game. Those are pretty rare. What happens more often is you win the early game, everybody stops communicating, and then one person dies. And then Alex Straza tries to solo Dia keep. And bam, bam, just one after the other start leaking away. And you lose. And that is, I'd say, not addressed in this email, perhaps the hardest talk to have. Because that's when accusations start flying. But that's when you need to have the big conversation. And I will accuse myself right now of I often let it go. I don't want to prod that bee's hive.
Right. Because what we're talking about here is more or less, I think the easiest way to frame the discussion we've been having here is ask yourself, how do we lose?
Yeah.
And where it's very easy to interject tilt into that question is if you ask that question in the middle of the draft. Because you're just like, oh, they took Nova, oh, they took Genji. Whatever hero tilts you right now. For me, it's Diablo. I think you're off your rocker if you pick Diablo right now. But it's not that helpful. The damage is done. That hero is locked in. You have to make this work now. So look at their roster. Look at your roster. How do we lose? Find the answer to that question and get that information out to your team. And that'll help kind of formulate your pre-game strategy. Yeah,
and I think for this sort of thought process, for the head on hot legs shoulders, he's doing really well to pick ETC because he's being so proactive in that goal. And that's kind of the problem with Diablo and Arthas right now for me is if I'm completely dominating, but let's say they're Jaina Chromie behind a wall, we're not going in there. We just got to wait. I now have to wrangle 4 board people into doing nothing. And that's really hard on these aggressive, we call them aggressive tanks like Arthas and Diablo. When we're getting picks in team fights, we look great. We're locking people down. We're doing decent damage. But ETC Garrosh, people will follow you to the ends of the world and sit bored for an hour just to see a sweet stunner throw go down. And I've actually been putting a lot of time into Garrosh right now. And I'm toot. I'm pretty excited here. I've got that throw into the stun down. It's not hard to do, but it's a big mouse shift. It takes some practice. And when you're Garroshing, people are willing to be bored. People will wait on you because they want to see that sweet isolate. And same thing with the power slide face melt. There's an expectation there. Learned from just playing with that hero many, many times. And I think in that way, Diablo suffers because why didn't you go in Diablo? Well, there were no wall. I didn't see a good wall for me to connect with. There's no reliance there. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Is it just the wall? Is it just the need to pin? Is that the make or break? Because clearly we've made it work in the past. There have been long stretches of time where we were in a Diablo wrecking your face meta, which is why we still see him get banned even to this day. Sure, I don't want to beat the dead Diablo. But I think it's really, it's highlighted.
It just happens. You don't have to try. You just end up beating the Diablo.
Because he's trying to walk away and he has no escape. he can charge a minion wave, but they reduce the cooldown, right? Okay, they're just slamming poor Diablo on the ground. But, I mean, look at how we've chosen to expertly engage with Diablo. We do Apocalypse into a charge with a shift click, overpower over the top of our head so they hit the stun. We have battled against Diablo's base level mechanics to create this combo that works so that we can take him everywhere instead of thinking about the map, thinking about, the comp we have. You get a Nazebo, you got bonus walls. You get a Tassar, you got bonus walls for Diablo. There's lots of cute stuff you can do to empower him. But, and I will say this again, I think the reason we spam heroes and don't think about our map so much is because the grind is too hard. It's too long. So we get comfy and block ourselves in our little protective boxes. And it's such a long road that we're going to face a lot of aggression. We're going to have people yell at us. And the more you solidify and reinforce those walls that I'm a good Kael'thas, I've played so many games, look at me, the less that critique on my losing game hurts my soul. And I'm able to continue the grind more. So we built our own steel house in this case.
And we so many of our episodes come down to be fluid.
Yeah. Try
and check your preconceptions at the door and make the situation you find yourself in work as best as you can. I feel like maybe, was it a month ago, maybe 2 months ago now, I had this, I had an episode, there was an episode of the show where I came on, I was just like, I was ready to tilt so hard on Nova, and I just had so many games with Novas in these pickup games, and they were going great. And I just didn't let it get to me. I was just like, well, let's just see how the Nova goes. And since then, for the most part, my experience in this game has gone so much better. And it's just that one little thing of just like, whatever, that's what they want to play. Let them, and let's try and make it work.
Right, and I will adapt my previous soapbox of never fill, don't select the fill option, to be very different, because I've seen great fills since this system started up. Really.
Same.
But those players aren't the fills in I like one of everything. You want me to heal? I got Tyrande for you. No, I don't want Tyrande. You want me to tank? I got this one. No, that's not fill. That is, I like too many things. You want Superman ice cream. Instead, I've seen some fills that just really know how to draft. And when we end up with me first picking Kael'thas because it don't matter, I don't know what the leagues are right now, I'm just gonna kill it. If only Kael'thas talk like that. But I'm just gonna blow up whatever they have in a Nubrak. It doesn't matter. I'll put bombs on his bugs, and the bugs will walk into the enemies. He'll mess up. It's fine. The real fill is the person who can see the Nova first pick, who can see the auto lock Artanis and say, you know what works really well with this? That's a rare skill, but I applaud you because I've seen your work and I love your fill in that case. It's good filling.
I agree. We also just have nothing against folks who like to have decent heroes in basically all the roles.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But you should pick your favorites in that case.
Yes. Yes, you should. So, anyways, thanks for writing a hot leg, and I like your advice. Even if you're a little rough on silver and gold.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, let's.
I mean, you heard about League of Legends, right?
Kyle, I never pay any attention to that game.
Well, they added iron. They decided that bronze isn't low enough. And they went in and added an even lower tier.
That's nice.
Didn't Hearthstone do that too?
Hearthstone has always had much more incremental leagues or ranks. Yes. They added 25 more numbers to their already 25 numbers. So they had 25 more ranks, but you can't go below rank 25 in that game. You the only way you're going to see rank 50 through 26 is if you're a new player. You start at rank. So it's this new player ranks that you can only see when you're there, and you get a card pack every rank that you go up, and you can't lose stars. And there was just a really big issue of people getting into that game, starting their first game on ladder, and playing against someone with a meta deck of perfect cards that they spent who knows how much money on.
Yeah, whipping out the Yeti and being like, "That's value," and someone's like, "Hold my beer."
Exactly. So a little bit different there. You're never going to find yourself, Kyle, no matter how long you wait to play another game of Hearthstone at rank 26.
Damn it! I'll have to smurf Hearthstone.
I mean, if you haven't spent a lot of money, go for it. Ain't nothing stopping you.
I'm still free to play there.
Yeah, dude. Go start free to playing in Europe and get yourself 25 free card packs.
All right, no problem.
But let's take an email or two and wrap this episode up, shall we?
Let's do it.
Darkness stopped calling.
I hear the wilds call. Wait, nature calls.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com if you want to be a part of the show, or if you head on over to patreon.com/itn and you start supporting us. It doesn't matter if you're giving us $1, $2, $50, whatever works for you. You get into the patron-only Discord, which is a lovely little community of all of the supporters of Into the Nexus, and that's exactly what Starbuck did. Starbuck put a question in the Patreon Discord, and here it is. It was also a bit of a story. So Starbucks says, so I am having the greatest season I have ever had so far. I ended last season at Gold 3. I spent last season bobbing up and down between Gold 2 and Gold 5. I started this season at Gold 2 and now currently have a 70% win rate, going 26-11 at the time of typing this. I've climbed from Gold 2 up to my promo to Plat 4. Never in the history of this game have I been able to climb and have such a great experience. I don't feel like I'm approaching the game differently, but for some reason, it's working now. Is anyone else having a similar experience? And do you guys think that this might have something to do with the new patch, or am I just having insane luck? And then added a bunch of context which we can pull from if you have any questions, Kyle.
Yes, and I asked for this context, and I still am curious for more.
Oh, okay. All right, well, now people are going to want to know, so I'll just read through it. So for context, Starbucks says, I've been playing for about 3 years, initially Silver 3, fell to Bronze 3, been a long climb up, mostly mains ranged assassins, second role as bruiser, particularly Dahaka when there's solo laning needing to be done, usually play in the evening, Eastern time zone, though my big climb happened during the day on Saturday, which was a surprise to me. In draft, I see a small amount of communication, but picks almost always seem to make sense. Rarely in the banning position, but when I do, it's usually a noob, Arthas, Dahaka, or KT. Kale still seems to be the only real priority hero, so if we have first pick, then I'll show him. 4-0 with Kael'thas for the season so far. Damn.
Well done.
But if another ally hero shows a mage, then a switch to a damage dealer, which for me is always Sylvanas. If my other damage dealer goes AA, then I go mages like Jaina, KT, or Orphea. On occasion, I end up on something weird, like today we ended up seeing an enemy Kel'Thuzad, so I grabbed Diablo, asked for dive assistance, and my ally picked up Tyrael. We demolished that lich. Ooh. You just reminded me how much I love Tyrande-ing with Diablo, and maybe I should shut my mouth sometimes. Oh, no. Ally picked up Tyrael, not Tyrande.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, Starbuck clearly comfortable with multiple heroes.
Yes. There's also a great connection he's made between the weekends and the evenings. That is going to equal a similar player base. So he's making sure that he is with we could call them casual warriors, but the everyday man out there.
Yeah, I've always found that dangerous to try and wrap your head around. I mean, I get it, right? Like, folks with jobs and students are going to be busy during the day.
Yeah.
So, like, I get that, but at the same time, like, there's no true control over it, because you know who could be playing at night? Mostly anybody.
Right. It's not entirely accurate. I've avoided the weekends just out of tradition for 2 seasons now because I just lose. Apparently, there's the late night Abathur. Every once in a while, I feel a little crazy. But outside of that, it's just such a chaotic environment that it's not what I'm used to doing streaming, right? 10 a.m. on the weekdays. It's a rather dedicated player base. Right. And at the same time, while I think it's kind of hard to wrap my head around, I can't argue with your results. I feel like you've always done your best when you're like, this is the meta I find myself in. This is how the people I play with regularly play. When you wrap your brain around that kind of understanding, I know you, Kyle, really flourish. But what I really like about the added context that Starbuck puts here is that, yes, these are a lot of different heroes that Starbuck kind of rattled off to us, but Starbuck's logic behind
why Starbuck picks which heroes that they pick for what reason makes a lot of sense. And when you talk about like, oh, the other damage dealer goes AA, so I'm going to go a mage, Jaina, KT, Orvia. That's a through line. You're not saying I'll go Jaina or I'll go a Nubarak or I'll go support. Like there's this, you're all over the place there. This makes sense. Jaina's taken, I'll go KT. KT's taken, I'll go Orphea. No one on your team now, you're not giving them whiplash. You're not giving them draft whiplash with your process of selection here. And I think this is such a healthy way to be thinking about your draft.
Absolutely. And the adherence to the current state of things with XP is fantastic. Dahaka being such a great starting point to this. Experience is winning games. And you are all, if it's Sylvanas being really up next for you in a lot of these cases, you are absolutely making sure you stay ahead in that experience game. And here, even in an opportunity where you went tank with Diablo, you asked for what you needed. So, well done, Starbuck.
Yeah, I dig it. I like this a lot. Do you have any other breakthroughs, man? Besides, what is it? I guess Kael'thas, you said.
Yeah, the big mage experiment has been just what I sort of entertained myself with the week and did end up climbing. I'm really eager to get back on Bruiser. I just love the role. It's where I see the mistakes that I want to fix, but I am putting so much effort into Thrall right now. I think he's incredible. I think he brings the team together. People just like seeing the guy. Everybody, oh, so we're playing normal. Thank you, Thrall. Let's all build normal. There's just kind of a camaraderie that happens when Thrall's on the field. So that, honestly, like, lots of quick match this week working on that guy. I'm almost there. It's a fascinating. We should do a Thrall strategy section for those who haven't played him, because there are things that people who are Thrall curious will tell you, and then there's the Thrall mains that'll be like, shut up, everybody else who takes Thrall in the meta. Let me tell you how Thrall's really done.
I used to really love Thrall, and I haven't played him in a very long time. And so I would love an excuse to play him.
Yeah. Barring any great news that we need to cover, let's talk about Thrall next week, because he's really active. You've got a lot to do. And it all comes down to, honestly, Ancestral Wrath a lot of the time.
Okay. All right. I could use a refresher. So let's do it. Let's do it. And so I'm going to wrap up with just a fun little email. Jeremy wrote in to itncast@gmail.com and said, hello, Garrett and Kyle. Longtime listener, longtime fan here. Went on to say wanted support on Patreon, but doesn't have the finances at this moment, which I would like to pause and say, I don't know about you, Kyle, but I hear this all the time when we go to events, like at BlizzCon. Folks always come up like, oh, I'm sorry I can't support. And I always want to say, don't be. That's fine. That's the picture. Yeah. If you can, rad. You don't have to. And we took longer than usual today talking about the Patreon. But it doesn't, you don't have to. I don't want anyone feeling guilty. Like, it's rad.
No,
like, if you're
I think it's awesome. You enjoyed the show.
Yeah. If you're in a position where you can go support creators that you dig their creations, rad. If you're not, don't worry about it.
I think it's great that you're aware. I think it's a modern thought to have, and we all really appreciate it.
Yeah. Anyway, went on to just compliment us, but I love what he focuses on here. He says, you guys are hilarious, and Kyle's analogies are on point. I was in tears when he was talking about the dishes and the shelf in the garage. I so know people like that. Also, the time he was talking about HOTS esports, where people need to be shot out of a tube. You guys are just real, and I dig that. Great community, too. Keep up the great work. I hope to support you soon, Jeremy. I love it, and also our analogies got so wild today. I'm so glad I decided to include this.
I dedicate this episode to Jeremy, then.
This is just fun and made me smile, and I was going to write him back. I'm like, sure, let's just put it on the show. So, thank you for this, Jeremy. You made me giggle on a day when I woke up feeling like I was dying. I didn't feel great when I woke up this morning, so thank you.
I have a great phrase for you can steal for your current weathered feel. I feel like E.T. in a ditch.
E.T. in a ditch. Is that a Scott Johnsonism?
No, it's not. I heard it on Drunk History. I heard it on Drunk History. Fabulous.
I'm so glad you're watching that show, by the way.
Oh,
It
it's
is
fun. Yeah.
comedy gold.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute comedy gold. So, I'm glad you enjoy the analogies, Jeremy. I love it. My favorite thing, there's a lot of listeners that are completely on board for the rapid fire analogies and it doesn't seem to bother them when they work and when they don't land. A lot of people they just like it. I like that that's like a sub community of ITN fans. We're just like, yeah, if you don't get it, Garrett, it's fine. We still laughed.
The hole was too deep and we just crossed it together. No worries.
Yeah, I dig it. I love it. So thank you, everybody. Days like this, I really appreciate the Into the Nexus community. When I'm just like, my throat hurts and talking to a microphone is painful. So thank you, everyone. And thanks again to our patrons. Speaking of which, go become an Into the Nexus patron if you want to. Over at patreon.com/ITN. Help us hit some new goals. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Thank you two so very, very much. If you want to represent Into the Nexus, head on over to shirts.amove.tv. Pick yourself up an Into the Nexus t-shirt. You can catch us live, typically on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/amovetv. Come join the chat room, make some friends, maybe team up afterwards and go smash some faces in with your favorite Blizzard hero.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, by the way. Kyle is at Kyle Fergusson. You can follow this podcast at ITNcast. And also check out the whole back catalog of episodes, either at youtube.com/amovetv or just go to amove.tv. You put a little /ITN on that and poof, you're on the ITN page. It's wonderful. So before we go, Kyle, where can everybody find you?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, but I also upload the best ofs over to youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson. In fact, I posted that whole mage thing, the whole 2.5 hour shebang. If you want to see the experience as it happened, also, we've been having a good time over there. It used to be called Solo QA, but I think I'm just going to call it Solo Q Casts because Kristen joins me and has been casting the games while I'm playing them. And, you know, casting's a bit of a structured thing. They're telling you about what might happen. Well, Storm League's a very unique place. So what if that was cast? I encourage you to go check it out. It is a hilarious good time hearing somebody take very seriously what is happening before our eyes in this fine game.
That's great. I haven't seen this. I need to go watch that.
Oh, it's good.
That sounds amazing. Folks, amove.tv for all of the podcasts, including this one. Lots of Hearthstone going on, so go subscribe to The Angry Chicken to hear about what we're going to probably do a massive deck roundup on Tuesday because there's just so many archetypes coming out of this new expansion. Kyle and I have another podcast that we do together called Enter the Apex, where we talk about Apex Legends. Kyle's learning how to play a Battle Royale, y'all. Well, at this point, you have learned to play it. Kyle is improving at a Battle Royale, y'all.
The principles are there.
Yes.
One must still aim every day.
Yep. We get to swap roles. We swap roles in that show. It's very fun. Yeah, everything else is at amove.tv. Go check it out. And if you miss weeks off, patreon.com/ITN. We got new goals to bring it back. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We thank you so much for listening. And until next week, good luck and have fun.
Take care.